We're back. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and goldfish of near and far. Welcome back for another Real Talk with me, Emma G. Tonight, of course, as we do every Sunday, I am joined by my fabulous whānau family, musical tribe, human beings that make epic shit happen across the DMV and beyond, the Capital Groove Collective. How is everybody going?
Doing well.
You're all on mute now. It's hilarious.
We're great.
Doing well.
We're great. Awesome. So, I mean, it's been a week. I think I've lost track of the days of the actual pandemic, and we're now. I've lost track of the days since the murder of George Floyd. Things are going kind of crazy. We're all showing up in different ways. But to start off, and usually how this starts off is I will sort of dictate the direction of the conversation. But tonight, I am handing over the social justice warrior torch to Stephanie Matthias, as she has been thinking and meditating and praying on last week's conversation alongside Jerome Williams. And I believe you've got a question that you have for us tonight, Stephanie.
Hey, thanks, Emma. I wanted to get into this right away because Jero and I had a lovely conversation, and we got to talk about how we're taking things. I know that last week, Jero, you weren't with us, but at the show, but you were with us 2 weeks ago when we were talking about us as lighter and brighter people feeling guilty for trying to continue our lives, our business and promoting our projects and ourselves. And you so kindly had said, no, keep being yourself, keep doing you and all of that great stuff. And a question that I had was sort of like taking that back to you and saying, like, you as a Black person, do you experience trying to move on, trying to promote yourself and your business? I mean, I especially remember Black Tuesday, right? When Black people were saying, I know that I shouldn't be promoting my own business right now. And that made me so frustrated because I'm like, no, you should. Like, this is all about you right now. Are you experiencing Black people literally telling you, you should not be happy right now? You're supposed to be miserable because you're Black, Is that how I said it last time?
Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate to what you say. And again, it's a very valid question. And I think that the special thing about our collective is that this is a place where we can ask each other questions like that, because we know that if people have like a genuine quest, I guess, for understanding, this is one of the places to do it. So to answer your question, I have gotten a mix. There are some people who are, everybody is very charged right now. Everybody is feeling some type of, some sense of emotions about what is happening in the world right now. But for us as Black people to pretend like this is something new or this is, something we've never seen before is not true. We've always had to adjust our lives and our schedules based on the thoughts and opinions of others. So now I think it's just very heightened because everyone is at home. And now we're all focusing our attention on it. So yes, you did have some people that were like, shut everything down, don't say anything, don't post anything, whatever, on that particular day. And then you had others where it was like, no, this is the time where we really need to showcase who we are and bring attention to our platforms, which I did in a different way. So I did post the Black squares as a way to tell somebody, if you don't understand why we're doing this, ask. Like, it wasn't just here's my Black square, okay, wipe my hands of this and I'm done for the day. And so on that very same day, I was also recording a virtual taping for a local client. So me and the band, we had also worn all Black in solidarity for that day. So again, it's all in how you use your platform. And in terms of what you're saying, in terms of going back to normal, what we have to understand is, I get what you're saying, Stephanie, but we also have to understand too that there's no more normal.
Right. No, yeah.
The old normal that we knew does no longer exist, because now we're all aware.
And we're evolving.
And we're evolving, exactly. So to answer that question, yeah, I'm gonna still share music. I'm gonna still share the things that I love and the things that I care about. But at the same time, I'm also gonna bring additional awareness to some of the things that are out there. And a lot of you have seen me talk about silence and how visible
silence
that
is compliance.
Yeah, exactly. Not violence. Silence is compliance. I've also seen that term being floated around too, and that's not something that I believe. But again, just to wrap up to your question, and I'll allow people if they want to chime in. This is I'm used to this. I guess that's kind of my basic answer. I'm used to kind of having adapt to the system, and then do what's best in that frame, but also still bring awareness to it. Whereas in this time, I'm just way more vocal about it, because I'm like, this is our time to learn from each other and understand each other. And I'm not going to sit here on the sidelines and be quiet about that. I want you to know everything that I've dealt with over the past 30 years of my life, 30 plus years of my life. I want you to know, because now that we're understanding each other, you can really see how I've had to focus on my career and bring light to some of these issues.
Yeah, thank you. Something that I should add to what I was saying is that, I think that however you want to react, like however individual people want to react is valid, right? Coming from the mental health side of it. And I just thought that, like, in general, it's unfair to tell someone just because you're Black, you have to respond in a certain way. And that, I just thought it was beautiful to see people celebrating their Black owned business, celebrating, their art. But I think, I'm glad that I asked the question, because I'm realizing two things. One, that you're going through a complication of celebrating and grieving, right? Because you're celebrating your Blackness and you want to celebrate yourself. And at the same time, you're grieving because of how you've been treating. And also the other thing is, wow, I forget, being new to this, realizing that because I'm new, you doesn't mean you guys are. That's so sad. It breaks my heart. I want to cry. So yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, as I said,
I'm here with you though, Stephanie. I'm also new to this, and I'm a brown person, so right? I feel you. I feel you.
As I've said to everybody out there, my success is my protest, because there's been a lot of stigmas, there's been a lot of stereotypes that have been put against Black people over the course of time in our generation and the generations before us. But by me constantly living my life knocking down those things or proving otherwise, that is showing the system that was built against us that we can still rise above it. So yes, there's some celebrating and there's some grieving going on, but like we said before, we're still professionals. We still have jobs to do, but now it's like, how do we do these jobs in this new climate? And just knowing that what used to be will not be anymore.
Yeah,
that's true.
And on that same note, Joro, what you mentioned it a couple of times, is that things are not going back to normal anytime soon, nor should they go back to normal anytime soon. And when this all started in February, March, we were having a lot of conversations around, this is a beautiful time with this pandemic. And I use that word kind of ironically, I realize, but it's a beautiful time for us to realize the importance of community over money, the importance of family and health over profits, an importance of honoring the feminine as well as the masculine, and so on and so forth. And now, of course, things not going back to normal, quote unquote, brings on a whole new meaning, because now we're realizing realizing. That's funny. A whole bunch of people are waking up and saying, "Oh, didn't realize that Black Lives mattered." Huh. So, being, you know what I mean, And Sully is pissing herself laughing over there. But like as we are sort of moving through this time together, what I guess my question is, what do you hope this new normal is going to look like?
I'm gonna jump in if you don't mind.
Yeah,
I hope the new normal looks like, okay, so in terms of like the music and the entertainment world, I hope it looks like paying people what they're worth, because like the fact that Broadway is going to be was pretty much closed the entirety of 2020, that some companies have closed down, that some shows have closed down and they're not returning, that some venues have closed down and are, who knows if they're going to be able to reopen. Like, I hope it looks like I hope it looks like people getting paid what they're worth in the arts and entertainment. I hope it looks like, giving people in the food service industry what they're worth, any service-based industry. I hope it looks like people respecting each other. People, like, I don't know, not taking things for granted, like not, and hopefully people are just a little bit more hygienic, because like prior to the pandemic rolling out, people were a little nasty. They were a little nasty, and I'm glad people are washing their hands. Like, I would watch people literally leave the bathroom knowing full well they didn't take no paper towel with them, that where they're headed to does not have a sink, and they didn't wash their hands. So, like, I'm not saying that I'm, like, for example, I'll just give you a little example. I've been in a bathroom where there was only one sink, but I knew that right across the hall there was another sink. So I kindly grabbed the paper towel. I wasn't going to just stand there. I used it to open doors, and then I went and washed my hands somewhere else. But like, I know that about me, but I know for a fact that other people do not think that way. So like that, I just hope that what it brings around a little bit more understanding, a little bit more caring for people. Like, I loved watching people take care of older people. Like, in my culture, in West African culture, old people are very much respected and revered and taken care of. But something that always shocked me was how much old people were not respected and not taken care of here in America. And watching people like take care of their elderly neighbors, making sure their elderly neighbors have food, people going in to check on people that they haven't seen in a while, like that kind of stuff, like more community, more like reaching out just a little bit to see who's your neighbor. That stuff has been really nice to see, and I hope that is part of the new normal moving forward.
So beautiful.
Thank you. Gerard, did you have follow-up thoughts?
Yeah, keep washing your hands. Don't stop, because
because some of y'all just nasty. You're nasty.
Well, I was hoping you guys would answer the question, what's the new normal look like?
So look, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of things that change, because I definitely want Gift to get in on this too, if you're willing. But honestly, the new normal is what Solia hit on it. Just treat everybody with respect. I said it at my gig last night in Front Row. Like, no matter what we agree or disagree on, love is the key. Love is the key to understanding. Love is the key to
preach.
To having a healthy conversation, and just knowing that everything is not going to go exactly the way that we want it to. Like, everybody's idea of a utopia is far different from the next person, but there are a lot of things that we could do similarly, in terms of how we engage each other.
Yeah.
And I think if I had to pinpoint one specific thing that I say that I would like to see differently, especially in the entertainment industry, is for a lot of the bigger players, especially in our city, doing something to put in place some sort of diversity, discrimination style clauses in the contracts that they send out, because that would let clients and, you know, people know from the jump that this is something that we're looking at very seriously, because a lot of the contractors and employees in our industry are very diverse. And we have to make sure, and that's not just a race thing. It's also people with disabilities. It's also people with different sexual orientations. It's different from people's socioeconomic status. We have to make sure that all of those people feel valued and protected in this new time. And so that's a new normal that I want to see, is before you judge someone based on a look or a vibe, you know, hey, let's put in that little extra effort to, you know,
and that's hard. And that's hard I would love to have a discussion with you about this, because, you know, as a business owner myself and person who hires out contractors, and I've hired out contractors of, you know, all races, nationalities, sexual orientations, and all of that. But I mean, but I've never like addressed that in a contract, because I didn't think, you know, that, you know, it didn't matter to me. I'm like, do you do your job? Yes. Are you professional? Yes. That's it. You know, but I mean, like, I think I would be interested in knowing, and, you know, I guess I want to do some research now. I haven't hired out a lot of people lately, obviously. But when that happens again, like, you know, I would love to know what a contract would look like, so that everyone feels respected and knows that I do care, that they're being treated well, and that they're not being discriminated against at their workplaces. I mean, that's really important.
A lot of workplaces now, and several that I'm aware of directly in the DC metro region, have outsourced to various CDOs, is the term, this Chief Diversity Officer, and Cultural Diversity Officers. So that this is a relatively new term, unfortunately, that has come about to implement those very same things that you're talking about, Stephanie. There are actions being put into place a lot of the time at the moment. However, I would like anybody who's watching this to, you know, if you're looking for a sign, this is it. Call up everybody who has contacted you 3 months ago to say that they're implementing change in the workplace, and see what they've made, see what they've done. See, like, follow up to see, okay, how many women now are on your board? How many people of color are on your board? You know, really hold those businesses accountable.
And quick thing before I throw it over to GIF, like, in terms of the music and entertainment industry, I hope the new normal going forward means that in our contracts we stipulate, like, we need to take health and safety precautions if I'm going to be performing in your venue, if I'm going to be at your show. And if you cannot provide this bare minimum, like making sure we screen people at the door, making sure temperatures are taken, making sure that there are designated areas where you must be wearing a mask, because you're not near food, you're not near drinks, so you should be wearing a mask. Like, things like that should be, is, I hope, a new normal in terms of us being able to demand things from venues in order to ensure our safety. Because if we can screen baseball players several times a week, if we can screen all the sports players several times a week, you can screen your musicians that you want to come into your venue to help make you some money. So,
woo!
What's up?
Preach.
Yeah, all good points. I think one of the biggest things is that, you know, that the injustice is all of ours, right? So we, you know, I appreciate you guys saying the Black experience, but I'm gonna be honest, it's an American experience, and it's one that, when, you know, the new normal should be a collective advocacy for right. And what that means is understanding what it takes to make something right. If you've ever been in the workplace and you've heard some discriminatory words said, like, say, for hiring an applicant, and I've been there before, but listen, even though that there are laws in place that quote unquote protect you when you raise the flag, right, you got to wait 18 months after you lose your job or whatever. And I've been there before. My way around it was I sent a certified letter, you know, say, hey, I circled back around, but that wasn't to say that they weren't going to walk me out of the door and they got that letter. But there is to stand up for right. Freedom isn't free. I'll use George Bush's old deal. And it's a fact. It is not free. So to be collective advocates, that your advocacy shows up in multicolor, that's when somebody's like, oh hell. Because I'm gonna cut it to you straight. And I think these protests here show a very important thing. And that's that a diverse collage of protesters brings a different level of fire. It's like fire in itself. I mean, when we're all together, it turns blue fire. Everybody knows blue fire is like some of the hottest fire you get. Yeah. That's the difference, right? And when we can do that as Americans, you first off know who really is about truly a patriot and who stands with you. Because outwardly, that's what we project. However, inwardly, we've got some challenges. And I would say in the sense of, one thing that we all can agree on is nobody necessarily wants increased taxes. And I think that when people say, hey, how does, the Black person feel about things? It's like, well, I'm constantly mindful of the increase of taxes. However, my particular mental increase is tangible because when I drive down the street or when I go for a job, I'm going to experience that right now. Whereas you're watching legislation that may happen and it may not impact you this time around. But however, my taxes impacts me daily and I'm paying real taxes. I hope you guys are following the symbology of what I'm saying. So yeah. I think that is the thing to give, let's say non-Blacks or non-minorities an understanding of our taxes are increasing all the time. Yeah. And they cost us lives and they cost us schooling and they cost us mortgages. And then we're flipped around and say, well, I don't know why you haven't done this. Well, if, redlining and those kind of things take things back. In addition to slavery, and I won't go back into that because there's a psychological piece there that I would say what's the new normal is being able to get to a point where you're getting fairness across the board, the interest rates as far as mortgages, to be able to pay taxes that truly apply back to your community, and then learning those things to impact communities. And then you'll get there over time. It won't be, tomorrow, but I would say that collective advocacy that we're seeing right now, it makes me proud as an American. And I think that it's been a long time that we've been comforted by iPhones and things of that nature. And not only that, just the method in which people have protested has been so strategic and tactical that my mind has been blown. Another thing I'll say is that I saw this, I was on Facebook for some reason looking for something, and at some restaurant, I think it was. And it said, it was like a Yelp review or something. And it said LGBTQ friendly. And I thought to myself, do we have to put that on our business sites now? Because my thing is this, if you aren't, what is the problem? So do I have to say that I'm Black friendly? You know what I mean? So, and I guess that person's attempt was to say, hey, look, come one, come all. But that bothers me. It bothers me. I have uncles I'm from the South. My uncle, one of my uncles who I worked with during the summer back when I was a kid, he did carpentry work, and he's 80 some odd years old in the segregated South. And there's a reality that there are good people in the world everywhere. And essentially you said, hey, what does it look like for venues? I would tell you this, if you're about it, you book people and you pay them of all colors. And when your patrons respond to you, hey, that person was great. The bottom line, the only thing that matters is my uncle used to do good work, right? He had opportunities and he did good work. And then if he was paid fairly, I can't tell you, I don't know. But I would say this, if you're booking people and giving them an opportunity, they come in and execute, treat them respectfully, no different than anyone else. And that's that. But injustice is all about it. I think, again, collective advocacy of all people at all times, standing up for right, understanding what that looks like. Don't run into that burning house without a plan, because your values that you think, hey, well, man, this just isn't right. I don't know why they aren't treating people like this. In my experience, it was something to the effect of someone saying, hey, we're not going to hire any split tails and like females, whatever. And I was literally like right there, I almost jumped in like, oh, wait, let me think about this. Went back, typed up a nice little message, blah, blah. But it is a real thing. People often read about it, but it takes a true warrior to walk the walk. A lot of people talk the talk and post, but when you're ready to walk that walk, you're going up against the dragon. You're going up against the dragon. In most cases, people just do it by themselves, and I hope that in the future, hey, you go back, you huddle up, and you found some true advocates to just say, hey, look, we just want to talk to you about this. We feel like this should happen. And a lot of people need to learn. I mean, the biggest thing is understanding that some people just have not had experiences with minorities. They've watched 90210, they've lived 90210, and the one Black person on Friends. You know what I mean? So it's just like, that's what we have to get to, expand and expose yourself to things and find that lane where you're not threatened and everybody isn't an editor or everybody isn't a pipe fitter. And, you know, it's our responsibility as Americans. I digress.
No, I love it. I love it. And you're speaking to somebody who has a very white Norwegian family in Iowa, and I am very not white. So whenever I go there, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I am that token Black person that's not really, you know, whatever. Thank you for that, GIF. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Solia?
No, I was just, doing my thing over here saying yes. But like, no, absolutely. Like a lot of the change that we want to see is going to happen on the local level. Like the other day, I just happened to be perusing Facebook and I saw this link to a Zoom meeting featured for Prince George's County council members, and they were voting on a homestead property tax increase, meaning like if you're a property owner and they want to increase the taxes, like from what it currently is, at least a whole 5%. I'm just like, why isn't this more talked about? Why do people not talk about, like, this is the kind of change, because where they're trying to have these increases is, I just remember that during the presentation I watched it, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is happening right now. So I tuned in on a Zoom call and I just noticed, I was like, I think it's really interesting how Prince George's County and Baltimore County, Baltimore City, those two cities happen to be the most heavily Black populated areas in the state of Maryland. But those places, that's where the taxes don't go very far. Like, how is it that the people of Prince George's County and the people of Baltimore City are paying so many taxes, but you're telling us that our taxes aren't going anywhere? Like, what's happening? Why are we need to talk about that kind of stuff. And the only, like, literally, if you saw this graphic, you would be shocked. I was like, oh, okay, so Montgomery County is way down there. Allegheny County is way down there. Prince Frederick County is way down there. But like Baltimore and Prince George's are way up here in the amount of, like, so it's like that kind of stuff that lets us know that, okay, it's not just what we see on the news. The struggle, the taxes that we're paying are not just what we see on the news. It's in our homes. It's in our school districts. It's in our taxes. It's a lot. So the new normal has to look like advocacy coming through on the local level as well as a national level.
Totally. Thank you for that feedback. I want to kind of move things forward a little bit to talk about because there's a whole bunch of things that I think are happening around the country to try and move forward positive change, and perhaps some not so positive ways, with maybe not the most positive of tools, if you will. Like, as we all know, I'm the hug dealer of DC. I feel like hugs can really drive forward some positive change, hopefully melt some icy hearts and whatever. But there's been a new to me, at least, I'm sure this has been something that's been going on around the country for a while, but a new term in my dictionary of cancel culture, where a lot of people are canceling all businesses to be, done with certain individuals or certain companies, organizations that don't represent what we want this new normal to look like, or don't represent the values that we want this new normal to have. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
Over to you,
So
Juro.
with regards to cancel culture, you know, everybody has a different view about this. Not saying just everybody here, but just people in general. You know, I've seen both extremes where there are some people that are like, hey, look what this person did. They should lose everything, you know, and there are some things that are just outwardly egregious that, you know, you see somebody do or say. I mean, a prime example, I saw a video the other day of 4 teenagers that worked at a Jimmy John's, and they used their downtime to create a noose out of the dough and put a noose around one of the employees' necks. They were all white employees, and did it as a joke. And I'm just like, number one, why are you even filming that? Number two, of all the things to do while at work, why did you choose to do that? And again, it's this whole sort of thing of like bringing things to attention and bringing it to the forefront. But at that moment, the only thing that I could really think of in that instance was I wanted to sit them down and be like, why? Like, why would you do this? Like, what were you trying to go viral? Were you trying to get attention? Because that's not the way to do that. And then you're seeing instances where you have people that are going online and they're saying all these, you know, really egregious things that they're very uneducated about. And now they're losing jobs. They're losing college scholarships. They're being, you know, I mean, losing money, losing endorsements, whatever the case may be. And then you have some people that are like, look, we saw you doing this. Now, what are you going to do to get it right? So I'm more of the, again, this is just the diplomatic person in me. I'm more of the person, like, I try to see the good in people. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I know deep in my heart, just through my faith, that people do have the capacity to change. People do have the capacity to do good. It's just a matter of if they're willing to do it. So with the case of those teenagers, yeah, they're gonna, I hate to say it, you got caught, and now this is gonna follow you. And it makes me think about us. If we were to do something even an inkling like that, our careers could be completely tarnished. Mm-hmm. You know, even if something wasn't of ill intent, quote unquote, you know. So yeah, cancel culture is dangerous because I feel like it can scar somebody, especially if somebody is being canceled and they don't fully understand why, because we've also seen that instance happen. But if somebody's doing something very, very egregious, I believe that it's on them at that point. We also saw that recently with Deshaun Jackson, you know, like Philadelphia Eagles player who says anti-Semitic things, and it was just very unacceptable, shouldn't have been said. But what immediately happened was a player of Jewish descent reached out to him and said, hey, I want to show you how my people struggled. I want to show you some of the difficulties that we endured. So come and see our life. That's how you defeat cancel culture. You give somebody a teachable moment. So I'll let everybody else kind of chime in on that. But
I 100% agree that
it's just dangerous. It needs to stop.
I 100% agree with you, Juro. I'm really glad that you said it.
Yeah, my thoughts are that, let me say this. A good friend of mine a guy I've been working with here, you know, he's like, hey, Giff, I'm conservative. And I said, awesome. As Americans, we need conservatives. We need liberals. So I want to make that clear. But what we don't need is racism and bigotry, right? So if somebody's out there is conservative, I think in thinking that a person's attacking you as your conservative views, that's not it. And cancel culture, like you said, it's about accountability. Again, collective advocacy, collective accountability. But I would tell anyone that's watching this, if you search for the crowd to approve of the foolishness that you do in whatever corner of the earth that is, you will find it. And if that's the only crew that you listen to, you will feel like you were right. But then when you return to the real world and try to apply whatever thoughts or verbiage that you've said in greater crowds, it is not going to go well. It is un-American. To be quite frank, it is un-American, because ultimately you have to come back to the melting pot. And when you do that in a way and you just completely disrespectful like these kids at Jimmy John's, it's like, if ever there's a situation for you not to do that, it's right now. And why aren't you working and not, first off, the sanitary part of that? I like Jimmy John's sandwiches, but I can't go get one if I'm looking at you doing that kind of stuff. Not, just you playing with the dough. The bread is the best thing. But anyhow, I digress. But I think that's the thing. And to Jerome's point, especially as young teens, we've all made mistakes. We didn't have cameras in our faces. I was watching a documentary on Toni Morrison, a writer, and she was saying she went to Howard University. She said, I probably had more fun than I should have, but there was no cameras, and Tony's still great, So I think to that end, you have to give a person to atone, an opportunity to atone for whatever they did. You never know where a person may come from. If daddy, uncle, mom, and everybody was spewing hate and bigotry in their ears throughout their life, even when they're black or whatever culture that is, you will meet somebody be like, what is really going on? You have to get to a place where you learn different and just being open to that. And I think that it's a balancing act, but then there's a stopping point too. But collective advocacy, collective accountability.
Mhm.
Yeah. Jarrell, you better than me, boo. Because I was not. Okay. I personally find that when it comes to, like, if a Black person is canceled, very little effort is given. They get very little benefit of the doubt. They get very little, let me understand where you come from. Whereas, for some reason, when the situation is flipped racially, all of a sudden we're expected to try to understand this person. Like, okay, but where was that kind of benefit of the doubt for that person over there who did something far less egregious, not excusing anything for anyone? Like, I don't, like, Deshaun Jackson should definitely be talked to about, like, hey, this is not cool. But also, like, when Howard Stern turned around and called a group of professional basketball women nappy-headed hoes.
Don Imus. That was Don Imus, by the way.
It was Don Imus. Sorry, my bad.
I will make sure we're not saying no fault, no
my bad.
facts.
Don Imus, when he turns around and calls a group of professional women nappy-headed hoes, and he's not the amount of reprimand around that was not nearly as much as it should have been, in my opinion. And like they had to be called out, like, yeah.
Can I clarify one thing?
Yeah.
For anybody who's watching this from New Zealand, can you please clarify the term nappy-headed?
Okay, so it's in reference to black hair, okay?
It's a beautiful thing.
I know this because of the movie Nappy. Okay.
Yeah. So for any of y'all watching in New Zealand, nappy, the term nappy is referring to the texture of, GIF is showing. I'm not going to show mine because she needs to stay where she's at.
It's so beautiful.
It is, but she needs
the white girl in me wants to touch it.
But don't.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But the term is often, particularly around women, Black women's hair, and how politicized it's been. A quick history lesson. There was a time in American history where Black women wearing their natural hair was seen as, it was actually unlawful. And so head wraps were birthed out of that in America. So women, instead of being able to display their hair and their texture, they came up with these elaborate designs, and it just made them all the more desirable. So they stayed mad because they're like, okay, we told them to cover their heads, but now they sitting there looking great and regal in them head wraps. Like, they can stay mad. But the idea is that, addressing someone in that way, and you know when it's derogatory versus when it's someone being like, oh, my hair's a little nappy today. We can tell, we can feel it. You feel it in your body, you feel it in your heart when it's thrown out in that way. And so it's just in reference to the negativity around Black hair. So back to what I was saying in terms of how I feel that when cancel culture applies to Black people, the benefit of the doubt is just not given as much as it is expected us to. Yes, it's not. We're not referring to diapers. I know a nappy is.
Wow, did not know that.
Yeah, no, not like.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt anymore, but yeah, a nappy
Yeah,
means a diaper in New Zealand.
No, it does mean diaper in like UK and New Zealand and that kind of slang. No, it's not that here, but the benefit is not given, and so I find it when it comes to cancel culture, I do believe in people being able to be allowed to grow. However, if you are a multi-million-dollar corporation and you put out this little tiny statement and this little black square on Instagram and expect that to be all that you need to do to deal with the systemic racism in your company, like the reason, like why do all your models look like the same girl? And she don't look like me, like that's an issue. And it's kind of like, okay, I need you to do a little bit more work. And so cancel culture, I do feel like can be dangerous though, because it often can be thrown around in a way that people don't understand why they're being canceled. But a lot of people, more often than not, people do know why they're being canceled. They're just hurt that someone actually called them out and is not giving them the chance because they're grown folk and should know better. That's why that's what it is people being hurt by that.
Yeah, and there's two prime examples of that where cancel culture can have a negative effect.
Okay.
So number one, Chrisette Michele. So I'm not sure if a lot of people, so Chrisette Michele is an R&B singer, and she had agreed to sing at the inauguration in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people took that as, well, you're supporting the president by doing this and you shouldn't do this. Mm-hmm. And she was trying to do it as a way to show solidarity, that like, regardless of who's in office, this is our opportunity, that even though it's an administration that is not as highly favored in the Black community, it's still, this is our opportunity to still put ourselves like on display and kind of, stand up. So because of that, her career has not been the same since. She's had shows that have only half the people have shown up. So she's singing to like half empty rooms, and she's an amazing singer, amazing talent. So we've seen cancel culture be a negative effect for that, where she thought she was doing something that was positive. She didn't necessarily do anything egregious, but it was like that we saw that result. Number two,
they didn't have the right people around.
Right. Well, I mean, look, it's we all take that risk.
She took a risk, and somebody should have been there to be like, boo boo, this is not the hill to die on. But I don't believe that means that she deserved to have her career suffer in that way. But somebody definitely, I'm mad at her people because nobody told her, baby, this is not the hill we're gonna die on. We can find a different president to do this with. Like,
right.
You give me your.
I mean, and again, that kind of goes to show, like,
hindsight is
kind of
funny.
And I'm so glad that Gift said this earlier. Like, you need conservatives, you need liberals. It's okay to have a differing opinion. I know that right now this climate is just way different than we've ever seen before, where now everybody is being labeled. So if you're this, that means you're these characteristics. And if you're this, that means you're these characteristics. But last time I checked, there's some things that I'm conservative about, and there's some things that I'm liberal about. But one thing that I am is a human. So let's not forget that. But I just, real quick, because I know a couple people want to chime in, but my second example was Kevin Hart, because we saw that happen too, where Kevin Hart in the past, and he's acknowledged it, where he said some very homophobic things during his stand-ups. And we also have to admit that this age of comedy is completely different from comedy 10, 20, 30 years ago, because if this was the case, Richard Pryor wouldn't be successful in this time, Eddie Murphy wouldn't be successful in this time. You could go on and on and on and on down the list of comedians that have used homophobic jokes. So, but over time, as we've seen Kevin Hart evolve, he's mentioned in the past about, you know, how he's a different person now than when he made those jokes. But then when he was tagged to host the Oscars, people started bringing up all these old tweets and like, you need to apologize for something that you said 10 years ago. When and that's what I mean. Yeah, and it's stuff like that where I'm like, this is dangerous, because if you had really done your research, you would have seen all the times that he's gone back and apologized for those messages, or even, you know, gone on shows and talked about those experiences and how he's grown. And then because of that, the Oscars had no host for like the first time in like forever. And I think he would have done an excellent job. I really do believe that. But we also saw too that the Oscars with no host was actually kind of a good move.
I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed it. But again, those are two prime examples of how cancel culture is dangerous. Because we find one thing about a person, whether they said it, you know, 5, 10 years ago, and think that they're the same person back then that they are now. Now, if you said something like this week, and I'm just thinking about sports in general, where we had and again, because this whole Colin Kaepernick situation, I ain't getting into that, but we just had a rookie quarterback, white quarterback, go on and his friends outed him in a text chain, and he said that wealthy white people should only be the ones to own guns in a text group, but he's still employed.
Yeah. So
it's things like that where you're just like, what are we really doing here? Who are we really trying to cancel?
That's what I mean.
Like, again, it's different for everybody.
It's so selective. But yeah, I do agree that like the truth of the matter is everybody at one point or another was, is, and will be toxic in some way, shape, or form. Will say the wrong thing, has said the wrong thing. Everybody, myself included. And but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't allow people to grow. And I feel like that's what cancel culture that's what cancel culture prevents sometimes. There are some people, they by all means should definitely be canceled. But that doesn't apply to the majority of people. The majority of people are just very ill-informed and very, very like ill-informed and ignorant. Some of them are not even willfully ignorant. They're just ignorant because that's just, they've never known different. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, the thing with Kevin Hart, I was upset about that. With Chrisette Michele, I was definitely like, girl, you don't have friends. You need new friends, because if you had good friends, they would have told you no, because they're like, and in terms of this particular administration, some people are like, I do not wish for any person in the seat of the office of the President of the United States to ever fail. That is not what I want. However, when you realize what this administration is and who is part of this administration and what the goals of this administration have been since the beginning, that is a point where it's like, okay, there's hoping that somebody will be different. There's acknowledging that they're exactly who you think they are. And there's like, okay, like, let's see how to move on from this, because there's no, you don't save this. You don't save this. There is no saving this current administration, in my opinion. Do I want them to fail? No, because I love my country. But this is not it. This is absolutely not it. And
I need to chime in here a little bit, Solia,
Yeah.
just because I need to make it very clear to whoever's watching this that as much as we are a collective of musicians, that each person's opinion that is being aired is definitely their own opinion and does not necessarily represent the values or ideas of everybody in the collective.
Yeah.
And I only say that because there are some of the members who will be in on these talks that work for the government.
Yes.
And are not allowed to take part in conversations that could be deemed as anti-government.
Right.
All right, carry on, please.
No, you're fine. That is very definitely.
That's a great disclaimer.
That is a fantastic disclaimer. Very necessary. These are my own opinions. I do believe that we need to focus our attention on making sure on a local level we choose people that will work in our best interest, and then on the state level choosing people who will work in our best interest, and just hoping that those people are then able to support whatever is left of what we're currently going through until either we get someone new or until they can no longer be there. But that is that's my personal opinion, that sometimes you just have to recognize when something is not worth your time and effort, because your time and effort could be better spent focusing on something that you will actually have a chance in impacting.
And the most important thing of all of this too is just to recognize that if somebody thinks differently than you, it's okay to have a conversation as to why.
Yeah.
And I think that that's been one of the special things that has happened during quarantine, is I've had multiple conversations with people who disagree with me on certain issues. And we've been able to have cordial discussions about why. Like, cause another thing about me, and I haven't really noticed it until now. I've never been the one to say, if you feel this way, unfriend me, unfollow me, blah, 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 insert here. I've never been one of those people. I mean, there have been moments where my patience has worn thin on certain things, because I feel like there's just certain things that it doesn't need a debate. It doesn't need but what about this or what about that? It's this. You just know. But we also have to value that as well, that it's okay to think differently than somebody else. And if somebody doesn't agree with you, then, oh, well, you're not my friend because you don't think the same way I do. Nah, we need some no people in our life. We need that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also people who also have the same values that we have, the same morals that we have. That is where that X factor lies. So I just wanted to just add on top of what you were saying, Solia, because I know, you know what I'm saying? I know people who don't think the same as me, and I try to value their opinions because, like we've all said, you know, some people just don't know because they haven't been exposed to it. Everybody comes from a different place.
Yeah.
Valid. We have to wrap things up now, guys, but we've got like so many questions that we are going to be continuing to carry on with. So if you're watching and you're intrigued to know more or want to put forward a question of your own, please email through to us by heading to our website, capitalgroovecollective.com. I really love the fact that you both, Drew and Solia, brought up this idea of growth and how it's okay to grow and it's okay to support the growth and development of understanding in people. So my personal last question to everybody as we sort of wrap up tonight's session is, how are you wanting to show up this week? We're all superheroes deep down. How is it that you are choosing to move into this week with growth on your minds and love in your hearts and artivism in your wings?
gift.
Now, I was gonna defer as soon as they came back to me to Stephanie. I'm like, Stephanie's been sitting there. I'm sure she's got some thoughts charged up. So I'll defer to Stephanie and come back to me if she's okay with that.
I love this. I love this passing the buck.
No, not passing the buck, but I know she's been sitting there and I just want to hear her thoughts.
No, I'm just listening. I'm just really grateful because for a lot of things, especially what Drew was saying, because cancel culture is a little bit scary as someone who has a lot of conservative leanings, and I'm just scared that one day I'm just gonna be canceled. But also I've also grown a lot, and looking back at myself a few years ago versus today, and I'm grateful for the patience that I've been given, and so I'm just really grateful for everything that you said. Yeah, in terms of this week, mainly I'm just still focusing on the mental health stuff. I have a lot of cool videos to share about mental health conversation that I had with a psychologist, and I'm going to share them starting today. So yeah, I've been focusing on that, and like my question that I asked in the beginning was thinking about mental health and about and trying to validate the feelings that my friends of color are going through, and just letting you know that you're being heard and that I'm listening, and I think that that's something that I'm continually working on. Like, I feel like my goal this year is to have like a better understanding about laws and politics in ways that that I can vote that are gonna affect my values as a human.
Mhm.
And it's because politics are just so complicated to me. But so that's sort of been on my mind a lot lately. So it's like listening to you guys talk, and Solia, your like political opinions and stuff, and even our conversations that we were having before we went live, or like I really appreciated that a lot. So yeah, still a lot of internalizing here. But I hope you don't mind that.
Yeah, I'm glad I let you go first. I think that you talk about growth myself, like that mental wellness thing, especially in times like this. I realize is how much a routine of getting up, getting dressed, catching the bus, coming into DC, essentially like the curtain opens, right? So you prepare and then you execute that in a way. And then when you don't have to do that, you get to listen to yourself a lot. You know what I mean? And there's a balancing act to that. So I can appreciate you mentioning that. And I think that's one of the things that individually we have to respect that unknown space of, dude, this is all you right now. You pointed at everyone else. You responded to everyone else. You went to the gym because people saw this. And now it's just all you in this house, and you're going to do work on the computer. So that has been an experience. So I appreciate that. It's something that I battle with back and forth with working out, not working out, where I work from, whether it's at this desk or at a couch. So I appreciate that. From the music perspective, it's been a balancing act there too. And I've got, one in the chamber that's kind of ready to release. I've got a couple of different writings that have been going on. And a guy I've been working with, he cranks out like regular tracks and with warp speed quicker than I can write in some cases. But I'm working through that and balancing my day job at the same time. So the way I put it is it's good to have room to grow. And I'm probably one of the older people in this collective here since Billy and on the phone. And what I would say that if you're 20 something, 30 something, you've got time, and I always go to Julia Childs. One of my great examples is 50 plus years old. I think when she started doing the cooking shows, and whatever it is that you want to do, start doing it and just keep doing it. So that's always my perspective, and just trying to stay in the high ground mentally.
Cool. Jerome, I'm gonna pick on you now.
Oh, real quick. I'm Music Gift on at Music Gift on Instagram. Shameless plug. At Music Gift on Instagram. Cakeismyfriend.com is my website, or musicgift.com. And you can check out.
You say that like you're not already being featured on the Capital Grove Collective website. Come on, man. We're family, bro. What's going on?
Be on his hustle. You gotta be on his hustle. You gotta be on his grind, you know?
No, it's funny because I'm always the one that's like, Giff, who are you? What took
No, so to answer the question about growth, see, this is why this is so important, because Stephanie mentioned mental health. And the thing we have to remember is it's okay to recognize when you reach your breaking point at certain times. Me personally, you know, I kind of had that moment this week, you know, because I've spent a lot of time and energy trying to put my focus into helping people understand, helping people relate, helping people to know that they have a safe space to say the uncomfortable things. You know, Stephanie and I had a great talk about that a couple nights ago. I mean, this is how we grow. This is how we evolve, by talking instead of just reacting to each other on what we say on social media. If you see something that somebody says and it's something that you don't agree with and you value that person in your life, really value them, it's okay to reach out. I've had a lot of issues with people that I have known over time being silent, that have really kind of disappointed me. And I think also too, by some people that have come to me asking me base questions, meaning there are things that you can find on Wikipedia and not ask me. But again, I'm all for clarifying some things. But I think this past week, like towards the end of the week, also because with COVID, now that some places are opening a little bit more, now people want live music again. So of course they want virtual concerts, they want all this stuff. So everything just kind of went from 0 to 80, like real quick. And I realized I had just kind of reached my breaking point. And as a grown man, like, I'm not afraid to say it. Like I had to cry the other night. I had to, because I was so stressed out. I was so frustrated with everything. It wasn't just what's happening in the world right now. It was just trying to put my life together, you know? And it's okay to do that. It's okay for a grown man to cry. Let's put that out there. Let's normalize that. Okay, we're gonna talk about normalizing stuff. So know when you've reached your breaking point, and then know what you need to do to kind of get over that hump. So for me, it was Disney Plus. I had to get on. I had to watch some of my childhood favorite movies and laugh for a little bit. And that's exactly what I did. And then the next day I was feeling a little bit better and to get right back at it. And then in terms of music, you know, like I have my single coming out next week, and focusing on that, and something that's going to be happy. It's going to be a nice little summer bop, you know, to keep.
When does it come out?
July 24th.
Nice.
The
nice.
song is called "Call Me," because again, it talks about something in the quarantine climate. You know, that picking up the phone and hearing a voice again, not just checking in on them on social media. So, yeah, but that's how I'm growing. That's how I'm evolving in this time. So, yeah,
Beautiful.
mental health is key.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you. Solia.
Going into this week very much excited to grow, excited to learn, excited to just be more of who I am, to get, like, I've been reflecting today on like where I was like even just 30 days ago, and like goals that I set for myself, and like mentally where I am in terms of like, okay, so I didn't accomplish a goal that I was hoping to finish in 30 days. And like old Solia would definitely have been like really down on herself, really beating herself up. But like new Solia is definitely like in a growth oriented mindset where I'm just like, okay, it's fine. It's cool. We can shake it off and keep it moving. And so I'm definitely in a very positive space moving forward, and realizing that I have like everything that I need, and I just need to be patient with myself and just to like move forward. So I'm excited for the week.
I love that. I love that. Awesome. I always feel really awkward answering my own question, but I'm choosing to move forward this week with love in my heart and releasing the music video for my new single, which comes out on the 17th. The song came out last Friday, and the video comes out this coming Friday. It's a song called "You Can't Control the Night," and it's all about dancing in the face of bigotry, because as our girl Celia says, "My joy is my protest." And as our guy Giroux says, our success is our protest. So that's how I'm choosing to move forward. And as we all know, I've implemented a real mental health, spiritual health, wellness and awareness on a daily basis, where before 12 o'clock, don't even try to call me. Sorry, Giroux. Don't, because I am so unavailable to the world. It is all about me in the mornings. I am doing nothing but meditation and working out and cuddling my damn cat. So I love you, man. I love you.
Guys, that is not a euphemism.
I feel attacked.
Single song, the title of your single. Call me. I mean, come on. I was trying to be funny. Okay. All right. And on that note, guys, be good, be kind to each other, be your own kind of superhero, spread love like it's going out of fashion, and please, for the love of calling Giroux, don't forget to also call your mom.
You can't control the night.